Today we are taking a look at Nath dog food, and this is a food that is owned and promoted by Kiwoko in Spain and Portugal, although it is trying to reach other markets. Now, before we start, I want you to realize that everything you read on front of bags of food or treats is just a marketing ploy. What you need to do is turn the bag of food over and check out all the ingredients for everything you give your dog or cat. So let's get started with the Nath, the adult chicken and brown rice. And the first ingredient here is dehydrated chicken, and that's 22%, and that is good. That is good. The first thing we want to see in our dog's food is animal proteins and animal ingredients, and a high proportion of animal ingredients. The first one here is dehydrated chicken, and that's 22%, and that is good. The second ingredient is brown rice, 17%. The third ingredient is white rice, 17%. Now, rice is not a very good ingredient in dog food. Rice is inflammatory. Dogs cannot really digest rice very well, either white or brown. They do not produce the enzymes in the stomach to cope with large amounts of carbohydrates, high glycemic carbohydrates, such as brown rice or white rice. We then have green peas, and green peas sometimes can cause flatulence in certain dog breeds. Some dogs can digest them okay, but some dogs' tummies can get a bit aggravated and can lead to certain health issues like gastrointestinal issues. Some dogs will be okay, but some dogs are going to struggle with green peas. Peas are legumes at the end of the day. We then have animal fat, and that's chicken, 8%. We then get hydrolyzed chicken protein, and that's 9%. So hydrolyzation is the process of breaking down molecules with water, and that adds a layer of processing to the whole food and complexity to the whole food. And the whole point of hydrolyzation is so that your dog absorbs the nutrients a bit better. So that's the whole point. We then get minerals and salmon oil, etc., etc. So we have dehydrated chicken, that's good. We then have brown rice, not very good. White rice, not very good. Green peas, not very good. Chicken fat, animal fat, I'm not really sure why they say animal fat and then chicken. I don't know whether that's chicken fat or animal fat. So if your dog has any issues, any allergies, any gastrointestinal issues, what you want to do is traceability. Everything chicken or everything beef or everything sardine or everything one single protein. You don't want to see animal fats, because animal fats could be anything. We don't know, they don't tell you. So I don't like that. And then we get hydrolyzed chicken protein. Again, not my favorite. So all in all, this is not a very good food. High inflammatory ingredients. Dog can really digest carbohydrates very well. And at the end of the day, you want to be paying for meat sources. That's what you want to be paying for. You don't want to be paying for filler. You don't want to be paying for rice, for peas, for chicken protein. You want to be paying for the chicken. You want to be paying for the real deal. The second one we are going to take a look at is the gastrointestinal for dogs. Again, we are taking a look at the ingredients, because that's what's going to tell us whether the food is good or bad. The first ingredient is dehydrated herring, and that's 26%, and that's good. The second ingredient is yellow peas, 23%. The third ingredient is buckwheat, and then hydrolyzed salmon protein, and then chicken fat, and then dehydrated apple pulp, eggs, salmon oil, etc., etc. I don't like yellow peas and buckwheat in dog food. I don't like it in dog food, let alone if your dog has any gastrointestinal issues. If your dog has gastrointestinal issues, what we want to do is reduce the amount of inflammatory ingredients we give our dog, and we want traceability again and single protein diets for our dogs. We don't want to see 2 or 3 different proteins, because we will not know which protein might be causing the gastrointestinal issue. So we have herring is okay, then we have salmon is okay, and then we have chicken fat, and that's not the best because we rather have one single protein. So everything should be herring or everything should be salmon, in my opinion. But I don't like the yellow peas and I don't like the buckwheat. Those tend to be, again, highly inflammatory, they're hard for dogs to digest, and this, again, it's not a very good food. Let's now look at the puppy. The composition here again is dehydrated chicken, and that's 29%. That's really good. Almost 30% of the bag is dehydrated chicken. We then get, again, brown rice and green peas, and that's 19% and 19%. That is a lot of carbohydrate. That is a lot of rice and a lot of green peas. Also bear in mind that rice or peas will expand when you cook it. If you cook rice at home, whenever you put like a handful of rice, that expands, and it's going to be the same in pet food. So I don't really like rice in pet food because you end up getting more rice than you put into the recipes. That's why these companies sometimes cook corners and give you something that is not very good. So green peas 19%, and then animal fat 12% coming from chicken, I think. We then have hydrolyzed chicken protein, etc, etc. So I do not like brown rice or green peas. So the first ingredient is dehydrated chicken, that's 29%. Chicken shrinks, any meat will shrink whenever you cook it. So again, this is not a very good food for our puppy. We then go on to the struvite crystals for your dog, and this is a completely different nutrition ball game. So if you have a dog with struvite crystals, we highly recommend all the videos on the channel where we have covered struvite crystals. The ingredients here are yellow peas, and that's 25%, 12% eggs, green peas at 12%, hydrolyzed turkey protein, chicken fat, buckwheat, etc, etc. So we only have a very reduced amount of animal protein here. Now, whenever it comes to struvite crystals or renal disease, it is often believed that you should reduce the overall amount of protein you give your dog. That advice is no longer active and it's no longer valid. If your dog has struvite crystals, the first thing you need to do is increase the moisture, the amount of water that you give your dog, so that those struvite crystals can hopefully pass through and dissolve without you having to do anything else. So increasing the amount of moisture and water intake your dog gets is absolutely crucial. So dry dog food like this is not going to cut it. It's really not going to cut it. And then they get 25% peas and eggs, 12%. I like eggs as a source of protein. And then turkey protein and chicken fat. This food is rubbish, in my opinion, and you should never buy something like this. This is like a veterinary diet, like a veterinary prescription diet, and by the way, you should never buy those anyway because they contain the same rubbish ingredients for your dog. I would highly encourage you to find something better. So whenever it comes to struvite crystals, it does depend how they were formed, the size of them, and a lot of other factors that need to be considered. But reducing protein for reducing protein's sake is not a very good plan. The last one we are going to get into is the renal one. And again, whenever you get kidneys and kidney disease, remember that the first thing you should do is try to increase the amount of moisture and water that passes through the kidneys. The kidneys act as filters, and in order for them to filter, they need to work very, very well and very efficiently. And a lot of the time, a lot of dogs, especially that are dried fed, they do not get enough water, enough moisture, so the kidneys have to work extra hard. So in my opinion, adding more water to the diet would be a lot better than getting your dog onto a renal diet. However, I'm going to review the food. The first ingredient is yellow peas, and that's 44%. The second one is chicken fat, that's 12%. Buckwheat, eggs 10%, and then dehydrated apple pulp, hydrolyzed salmon proteins, etc, etc. So as you can see, this recipe contains a much of nothing. It contains yellow peas, 44%. That's a lot of peas. That will likely get your dog a lot of flatulence in their diet, and for your dog to have excess wind, and that isn't really good, especially day in and day out. So chicken fat, 12%, okay. Buckwheat, absolutely not. Eggs, 10%, and then we get into the hydrolyzed salmon proteins and salmon oil, etc., etc. Again, this food is not very good and not suitable for your dog. Now, as some generic piece of advice, I want you to avoid the following ingredients in pet food, and your dog or cat will be a lot better off. So we do not want to see any cereals, we do not want to see any rice, we don't want to see any wheat, we don't want to see any barley, we don't want to see any corn, we don't want to see any meat and animal derivatives, we don't want to see any animal fats. What we want to do is traceability, and you want to be paying for meat. You don't want to be paying for all these fillers and all these peas and all this rice. What you want to do is pay for meat. So whenever it gets to dog food and cat food, always turn that bag of food over and check whether those ingredients are present, and if they are, just put that bag of food back. The problem with getting a lot of filler in your dog's diet is that your dog is going to always struggle to digest it and digest it efficiently, and so that's only going to lead to a lot of health issues. So you are much better off consulting with someone who knows about dog food and telling you what you should buy for optimum health. If you are curious about what diet is best for your dog, I highly encourage you to watch this video next.